Hey everyone, I'm gonna try to do a little video here, do some welding. As you can see, this is the forwarder bunk. This piece right here is supposed to go right there, obviously, and obviously it's snapped. I'm not sure what happened. I mean, normally you could see some, it'd be like rusty. Which would let you know that it had been cracked for a while, but I mean there's some dirt there, but that's from where it fell off, so I don't really know. I don't know what, maybe it's been cracked for a little while, but it doesn't really look like it. Normally, you might hook it on a tree or something when it's loaded. This piece is the one that goes upright, and it's kind of shaped like a half a field goal. And then that piece right there slides down into the bunk pocket, and then this is shaped, kind of like, well, it'd be like this with another piece coming off my thumb down, which would be like that slides into the bunk. So like this, if you're going along with the load, you can get which would, if my pointer finger was the stake, it could get caught on a tree and get pulled, and anyways. So I'm not really sure what happened. He said he caught it or he didn't catch it. He was unloading and hit it with the bucket and it just broke off. So anyways, I'm gonna take my torches and bevel this edge. I'm gonna torch it at an angle like this, because it's probably 1/2 inch or 5/8. So I'm going to angle it without, hopefully not doing anything to this inside lip, so it'll match up with that. And by cutting it at an angle, it's going to give you a kind of a V that I can fill in with weld. So I'll be back. Hey everyone, I'm just going to explain a little bit here. I am no expert welder, that's for sure. I'm self-taught. Everything I'm doing, I had to learn myself. I had some helpful hints from people that know a lot more than I do, but I think it's a lot of the way guys teach themselves in this line of work, logging, is self-taught. I have the right equipment now to actually do the job right, but you'll never forget a hard lesson. So when you do something and it breaks, and you can look at it and see why it failed or what you should do different next time, at least for me, that's how I learn. So and I'm still learning. I can do a lot better job than I would have several years ago, but having that welder, generator welder, stick welder, certainly makes a big difference. Torches, and then in one of these next clips you'll see I've got an air needle gun, and that makes a huge difference. Keeping like all the slag that's coming from what I'm torching right here, I can get that off of that, and then it makes life a lot easier when you're welding, so you can air needle that slag off, because you can't just keep welding over it. You have to get it clean. So it's just one of those things. So I guess I'm checking out. Well, that's one of the things I did in this video, was I made sure that the angle of the GoPro would be better, so you could see actually what I was doing, versus the last video with the tracks, where I didn't have the angle right. So, and that kind of was a bummer for me anyways, just because you couldn't see what I was doing a lot of the time. So how good is the video if you're not able to watch the torch, like right here, or some of the welding or whatever else. So I did do that different this time. So it looks to me so far that the angles came out a lot better. So, and as I explained in the first part of the video, this is the easiest way to do this. You could grind on that damn tube all day long, and that's pretty thick steel, and it would just be a nightmare. Where this, you can cut that edge off, and it actually kind of does a couple things too. It heats up the steel already, and it kind of cleans it. It takes all the imperfections and whether it's dirt or whatever else out of the metal, so it'll be a cleaner weld. Obviously, this isn't exactly the best place to be torching on the back of my truck. Um, Maybe someday I'll have a big garage and big benches and everything else you need, but I don't. So at least I have my service trailer with all that stuff in it. So surely makes life a lot easier. So because if I had to bring this somewhere else, I don't know what most of these welding shops get. I do bring in stuff to an outfit that's not too far away, and he does do a really good job. But this would probably cost I don't know, $200 or $300, and it may, he's definitely more capable than I am, but I'm fairly confident that this is going to hold. But so I save myself some money and I get it going. He was able to keep forwarding today. There's 4 bunks on each side of the forwarder, but it's not the way it's supposed to be. So, but instead of waiting for somebody else to get it done, I can put it on tomorrow morning and be done with it. So it's outside cooling down right now, and it's just a do-it-yourself job. And I like doing it. I get a great sense of satisfaction, by doing this myself, and I learn a lot. I don't weld enough to really be a master at it. I weld just enough so that I kind of know what I'm doing, and I say that lightly. I kind of know what I'm doing, if you know what I mean. So, but I like doing it. I feel good when I'm done and I fixed it, and we can get going. So, but that's what it is. So I'm lucky I have all the stuff to do it. So I gotta go through the video a little more. And if you guys have any questions or comments or anything, I'd love to hear them. I thought this video would be a little more action, a little more going on. It's another start to finish video. I did a little bit of commentary just kind of at the end when I finished it. So if you watch the whole video, you'll see the end product. Other than that, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's still a little long. It's 28 minutes. I don't know. If you guys think it's too long or it gets a little boring, let me know. I'll try to cut these videos down a little more. Just to get them where they're a little more interesting. I know that if it's too long, it might drag on a little too much. So I'll shut up now. Enjoy the video. Here's the needle gun that I was telling you guys about, trying to chip the slag off. You'll see me use this again when I'm welding for the slag, but you can kind of see what it does, and it just makes life a lot easier. So I just thought I'd um, cut in here and just make sure you guys knew that this was the needle gun, and kind of so you could see what it does. So anyways, just figured I'd stop in and explain that for a second. Right here I'm getting ready to start welding, and the welder I have is a Miller 225, I think a Bobcat or whatever the model was, a little older. Stick welder, obviously. I'm using 70-18 rod. Um, it seems to just be a really easy rod to weld with. You can lay a lot of a big bead quick, and it seems to be not too messy and pretty smooth. So as long as you keep the rods in a dry container. I know sometimes if I don't weld for a while, I'll go in my service trailer and they are in a canister, but I'm assuming the rise and fall of temperatures, it'll still get moisture in the can, and they don't want to weld very good. Once you get the stick going and it's hot, it'll kind of evaporate anything as you go, but sometimes it's a pain in the ass. These are new rods, so I'm not having that issue here. The other thing with welding too is that, well, you'll notice there, when you weld and then you stop, you have to kind of chip the flux off the rod to get back down the metal, starting to arc again. But the other thing too is that it always takes a little getting used to with the different rods or whatever, is that it does weld different from a full-length new rod. As you weld and the rod shrinks, it acts a little different. So sometimes you have to get to know the rods you're using and how they weld, because that can throw you off too. And like I said before in some of the other voiceover, that I don't weld enough to just, it is kind of like riding a bike, but as I'm going welding this bunk, it kind of comes back to me. So anyways, that's that. You can see me using the needle gun again. I mean, it's pretty simple welding. It was a little bit of a pain in the butt, because what's really hard about this brake is that it's not even. And so when I think right here where I'm just starting to weld it, I'm trying to fill a gap, which can be hard. You know, if this was a perfect brake, it was perfectly symmetrical, and everything lined up just perfect, it would have taken me half the time, because this whole project took me about 2.5 hours. You wouldn't think it would, but there's a lot of welding there. I think there's probably 2.5 pounds of welding rod in this thing by the time I'm done. And it takes quite a bit of time. So, but in order to do it right, you don't want to rush it, so you might as well just not worry about it. But that was the pain with this, was filling in the gaps and stuff. So the other thing that bugs me is that I've welded. I had another bunk break on this machine, and I welded that. It's held it for a couple years. It hasn't broke or anything. So, but the bunks are never symmetrical again. To get it like factory, and nothing bugs me more than having a bunk that isn't straight or right. I friggin' hate it. The wood doesn't. I don't like. I see guys with machines, they're bent and hanging out all over the place. It just looks like garbage. You spend $300,000-$400,000, or you can't buy a Ford for $400. If you want 2 sets of tracks like I have, you're going to spend $500,000. You can see here. I brought the sledgehammer out because I could still get the gap filled a little bit on the other side there. So I'm just trying to beat that gap tighter. So, but again, for me, owning this equipment is very expensive, and it's a big investment. And I've learned a lot over the years. But one of the things is that you have 5 years to pay for these things, usually. And a lot of guys, they're just in such poor shape by the time 5 years is up, they're getting rid of them. Well, you're never going to get ahead. So, like this machine, I have 7 more payments on this folder, and I'll own it. Well, I don't want to get rid of it. I want to keep it and run it for another year or two or whatever, and have no payments. So in order to do that, not only do you have to be handy and be able to work on equipment, but you got to take care of the machine. You got to fix it right. You can't monkey around and half-ass this stuff, because after 5 years and 10,000 hours, you're going to have so many things wrong with it that you'll go broke trying to fix it. So if you keep up with these machines, you can run them a long time. It's taken me a long time to learn that, and I'm still not where I want to be with it, but I've just learned over the years that fixing it right, taking the time or spending the money, it pays off in the long run. So, but again, I just figured I'd interject there. So, all right. around once. So I have a lot of filling to do, and I'll make passes in the middle on the sides and tie it all together all the way around, and then I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. Alrighty, well, I'm pretty much done, so I'll show you what I've got done here. So pretty much got it. So it didn't break straight around symmetrically, so you'll see here, well, it's kind of hard to tell with all the weld, but it comes down and curves, so see the welds kind of change direction. And then right here, I have to do this same thing. I mean, it's not super pretty, but I welded it at an angle like this, and I'm going to do it on the other side and then weld straight onto this bar, and that will give it some lateral strength, because the wood is gonna push up against that stake, so it's gonna give it a little strength that way rather than just welding it straight around and calling it good. So that's what I think anyways. So, but I'm gonna do this same thing to the other side, and hopefully it holds. So anyways, I'm gonna touch this up. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully it comes out decent once I edit it. We'll put it on in the morning and get back to Ford and Wood. So thank God I have the service trailer, the portable generator welder, you can hear that, the gas air compressor for the needle gun. All these things I didn't have years ago. So anyways, questions, feel free to ask, like, and subscribe. I'll talk to you later. Well, I'm really done this time, so there might be a lot of weld there, but I think I got it pretty good, so hopefully she holds.